Dobry den.
Zdravejte.
And welcome back to our little Bulgarian adventure.
Yes, we've had a lovely week weather-wise.
Yes, it's been beautiful. Sort of late 20s. May have had one
during the
day
day
in the 30s.
Yeah, and at night it's been nice and cool, so you get proper
getting
sleep.
down to sort of 13 to 15 degrees at night, which is lovely.
I can cuddle up in my duvet again.
But we have been quite busy. As I say, we've hit the sweet spot with weather at the moment.
Yeah, so we can get on with stuff. And of course we're still working on the cellar as well, which is cool down there anyway.
Yes.
And despite losing a day due to Energo Pro turning off the power to the village, it's quite dark down there without lights.
Yes, we did have a whole day out, didn't we?
Yes, which was unscheduled, but we made the most of it by just doing other bits. But talking of the cellar, as I was, this is what we've done so far. So here we are down in the cellar. I've now finished repointing all of the walls. I've got a bit of work to do around the steps, but as that's the part we're going to be using most at the moment, I want to get the stuff in here and then I'll repoint the steps, just so we can get the room working. I've also still got the windowsill bit left to rebuild. You can see some stones there, and I have started, but again that's a part that can wait. We're now at the point where we want to start using the cellar as the cellar, with the freezer down here, various bits and pieces, so I'll talk you through what we're going to do. Along this wall here, which is the back wall, which is actually the most underground part of our cellar, it's got the light on it at the moment. We're planning on putting some electric socket points down there. On the right hand side, I'll build a little platform to hold our little mini oven, which we'll have just down here, so when we need to use it we can, or drag it out and use it in the kitchen, but it'll be nice and handy. On the left hand side we're going to put the freezer, so we'll have like a kitchen run across the back wall. There may also be a fridge going there, that's to be decided, but that's the plan so far for that wall. Along this back wall, which is an internal wall, we're planning on putting some shelving. You can see some shelving just in the corner there. That will go along the side here, leaving the wall with the window free. This area along this wall, which backs onto the kitchen and is next to the steps, is where I'm going to have my kind of hobby area. So I'm going to put a bench along that wall. I'll tidy up the water pipe that you can see over on the side there. But that's the general plan for the cellar. Now we mentioned the floor. Now this is an earth floor. It's got a few, you can see there's a few little craters in it. If we decide to repair the cellar floor, we can do it as we go along in the future. That will then enable us to give it enough time to dry properly and not disturb it by walking in and out carrying things through. I'm now in our old kitchen, which will become our spare room. Now, as often happens with these projects, when you start doing one thing, it leads on to another job and another job and another job. Well, we no longer need this worktop here and this work surface, but it contains a lot of usable wood. So my first job in here is to dismantle that side unit so that I can reuse the wood. However, this currently is the area we use for preparing the cat and the dog food, so that leads on to yet another job. This is our porch area where we sit in the mornings and have our coffee. What we're planning on doing now is putting some shelving along the end where the chair is, only sticking out about 30 centimetres, but to give me a surface where I can prepare the dog food and the cat food. And we'll also store the pet food out here, and in the spring months we'll also be able to use the shelving for potting up plants and all that sort of thing. It's a nice sunny area in the mornings, plenty of fresh air, so hopefully we can utilise this area for more than one purpose. So in order of priority, the first job is to take apart this workbench. So that's the bench removed from in here. You can see where I've put the soil pipe for the toilet running through, along with a drainage water pipe. On the walls, a bit of history of the house. There's some old wallpaper I'll show you in a second. At some point this must have been all over the kitchen, but now we've just got this little patch, and unfortunately once we do this room that will also be gone. So that's the shelf build now. You can see there's room for plants all the way along if we need to. That's one of the dog bowls on there. We can easily fit all 6 along there. The grey bin you can see at the bottom contains the dry dog food. We bring it out, we do the dry, a bit of wet, and out it goes down to the dogs. So I can now see the dogs when I'm preparing their food. That's used some of the recycled wood from the workbench I've just taken apart. So now that we've finished in the other 2 rooms, let's see how we've done in the cellar. The first thing we've done is we've fitted 2 new lights down here, one each side of the cellar. That gives us plenty of light down here now to see in every corner, on the shelves, on the benches. It just makes things a lot brighter. I've also built the workbench for along the wall that backs onto the kitchen. You can see that's the Hoover system that we use for cleaning out the petrichors stored under there for the time being. I've built one of those on this side, and I've put a second bench on this side. This is where we're going to put our little mini oven. You'll see the double plugs there. We've got a double plug for this side, a double plug for the other side. The other side is where the freezer's going. So we'll be able to come down, get the food from the freezer, use the mini oven here, take it up if we need to. We've got more storage here, and we've deliberately not covered up the soakaway that we've got underneath, so that if we ever do have flooding, which we haven't in 3 years, but if we ever do get it, it can do what it's supposed to do. The other thing we've done is we've brought down these shelving units. Now there will be a second one of these to come down from the loft, but we haven't got to that yet. But the plan is that I have 2, Lynn has 2. She has that side of the cellar, I have this side. Now I've kept the big bench, she's got a small bench, but that's so I can do my hobbies, my bacon slicing, my brewing, all that sort of stuff over here, and it keeps everything out of the way. These will be hopefully not too full, but useful storage. But we're aiming to keep this middle section clear so that we've got easy access to anything, and it doesn't become a dumping room, it becomes a usable room. That's the plan. We'll see how that goes. Now we have this perspex in the window. There was no glass, it was boarded up when we got here. So I put the perspex in for the light, but we've now put this vent in to give us a bit of ventilation. We haven't really noticed any damp smells down here until we were pulling out the mud from between the bricks and doing the repointing. But we thought it's not going to hurt to have a bit of ventilation here. We've got 2 vents. I've only fitted one for the time being to see how well it works and if it needs a second vent. If it does, I'll put it next to the first. When we come to do the windows properly, I'll have to come up with a different solution, but for now that will do. So that's the cellar as far as we've got so far. All the furniture's in place, the electrics is all sorted. All we have to do now is level up the shelves and bring our stuff in, lay it out and have it ready to use. So we'll bring you the final result next week.
Yes, we're really pleased with how it's turned out. Initially we weren't even looking at it as a room.
It's been a kind of
more of a storage area.
Yeah, the dark hole of Calcutta. Well.
It was that when we got here. It did take I think one of our early episodes shows you spending a week down there just cleaning cobwebs out.
Yeah, digging out dirt and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's turned into a really nice room.
And definitely usable.
Yes.
So it's one of those surprising areas that you just thought, oh, I never realised we really had that.
No, so we're looking at it as a bonus.
Definite bonus. And we're on to the nice bit now, which is just putting everything in its place, which is my favourite bit of any job.
Lynn loves the organising side. I usually just carry stuff and leave it to it.
Yeah. So we'll do that over the next day or 2, and then we start on the other last 2 bits to do, the corridor and the spare room.
Yes, and you see we've already made a little start on the spare room by taking out that side where we used to prepare the dog food.
Yeah.
So, every cloud has a silver lining. It gave me an extra job to do this week, but it saves me one next week. So
I think that's probably about it.
That is. We've had quite a few questions for our Q&A next week. But if you still have questions, if you can get them into us, we'll add them to the list and do our best to answer them. So, until next week, it's time for us to say,
stay safe,
be well,
Do skoro.
Do skoro.